Hi there, I'm Mitch. I'm in my very messy studio in Melbourne and I'm just getting ready to do a how-to drawing session with you today. Now I thought it would be really good fun to do one of the Little Lunch characters from my favourite book series that I've illustrated, which is the Little Lunch series that I did with Danny Katz. There's 6 books in the series. You might be familiar with the television series on the ABC3, but this is where they came from. These are the originals. So if you haven't read these original stories, have a look. They're really funny. And I thought it would be fun for us to have a go at drawing one of those. So get your pen ready, your paper, and let's have some fun. So I'm filming this in the studio, in my garden studio in Melbourne, so apologies for any changes of the light or noises from outside like dogs barking and planes going overhead. These are the constant noises I have when I'm working. What I thought we'd do is a Little Lunch character. And these are the range of characters in the Little Lunch books, the original books. A few of them are missing from the television series because they had to cut it down to 6, but these are the original Little Lunches. They're all wonderful, love them all, but I thought, seeing as I'm filming this during the Olympics, that it would be fun to do TAMARA Noodle, seeing as she's the sporty one. So that's TAMARA just here. And even more relevant is one of the Little Lunch books we did, apart from the actual series, was the Little Lunch Games. And of course, TAMARA Noodle, our sporty gal, she featured very highly in this book. It was all about her coming up with the Little Lunch Games. It was hilarious. So of course, a wonderful picture of her looking noodly and sporty. And I thought we could draw something like this today. This is another example. This is in the story. TAMARA Noodle is challenging Rory to a banana smushing competition. I think Rory lost that one. And here's TAMARA being her usual confident self, celebrating because she got her gold medal, which is actually a tin foil lid. So what we'll do is we'll start with TAMARA. What we need is just a plain sheet of paper, any size you like. I like to start with this size. This is just a photocopy paper, A3 size. But if you want to start small, that's fine, or even bigger. You could work on a page this big and then you could just spread out. So I'm starting for now with an A3 page and I'm keeping it simple today. And all we need is my lucky monkey and a Sharpie pen that's got a very thick nib so you can make nice, big, strong black lines. I know some of you probably prefer to start working with pencil. I've got my pencil here, but I don't think I'm going to use it because I'd like to encourage you to just go straight into it with a big, thick line, because one of the things I like when I'm working is to embrace my mistakes. So even if I make a few mistakes here while we're drawing today, that's just going to be part of the drawing, and I can show you a few tricks on how to adjust it if you do a wrong line. Okay, so the thing about TAMARA is she's very spindly and noodly, as you can see here. Everything about her is bendy, and she runs everywhere, so I want to draw her looking like she's running and going in a fast pace like this. So what I'll teach you is how to give that impression. Okay, so I always start with the characters' heads. Everybody else has a different way of doing things. Some people start with the head like me, or they might start with the eyes, or they might start with the body. It's just about what you feel comfortable with and starting to find your place on the page. So I always like to imagine where the character is, and then I'll sort of judge roughly where the head might be, and that's where I start. And because Tamara Noodle was described by Danny Katz as being bendy and noodly, that's what I had in my mind when I created her character. And even her head is like a bean shape. So I might draw a shape like that just to start with, just because it's bendy. Then I'll do her 2 eyes. And I like to do them nice and big. I used to draw them a bit smaller, but I like to do them big now because she's always so keen and eager and wide-eyed and excited. For now, I'll just do the eyes with her looking this way. But if you wanted to draw her looking up or down or cross-eyed, whatever you like, once we learn how to draw a character, then you can actually make all those little changes as you go along. But for now, we'll just do her looking in this direction. And then I'll do her pert little nose, which is also a bit bendy and noodly. And then I'll do a big, wide smile. I'll do 2 big sugar lump teeth. Then I'll start a line from the middle of the first tooth and I'll go up like that to create a big wide open mouth. Now she's obviously excited, so I'll do her eyebrows arched up like that. So she's already looking pretty excited, I think. I'll give you a moment to get those face features done. Okay, so now I'm going to do the hair, and because she's got a ponytail, I'll pick a little point where I want the ponytail to be, and then I'll draw the lines on her forehead because she's got her hair tied back in a very tight ponytail, just so her hair doesn't get in the way. So I do all the lines starting along the top there, and they all go to that point in the ponytail. And then she's got that cute little pert ponytail happening. So you can either draw the lines out like that, or sometimes I'll just start from the outside. They can even be a little bit wobbly if you want. So there she's got that pert little ponytail happening. I'll just give you a moment to get that done. And now the ear is usually about the eye line and the hairline. So I'll just pop a little cute little ear there and a tiny little dot there. I won't do one on the other side because you sort of get the feeling that that would be behind her head because she's slightly sideways. Okay, so then she's got a very long skinny neck, and rather than doing it here, I would maybe have her head jutting out. So I might put her neck, which is long and skinny. I'll do one there. And I'll just do a little bit of a shadow under here to create that feeling like that the head is on top of the neck, a little bit of a drop shadow. It just gives it a bit more drama. Now I'll do the scoop of the t-shirt. So I don't connect it with the neck, I'll do it to the side, and that gives that feeling that the neck is actually sitting inside the t-shirt. And now I'll do her freckles, and I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 on one side, and then I'll do 3 on the other. I don't like to do the same each side because all those tiny little differences create a little bit more interest. They're very subtle, but it does stop everything being too uniform. And then I might colour in, not right to the edges, leave little white marks, and that creates a bit of depth and widens that beautiful smile of hers. And then also just to create a feeling like she's got rosy cheeks, I'll put a little cheek line there at the end of the mouth. So I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, so her arms and legs. Now, I want to show her moving and she's running and bounding along. Okay, so I want her arms to be moving as well. So what I'll do is I usually start from where I want the arm to end. So I'll sort of start there and I'll curve it around like that. And then I'll follow that line again. I don't mind a little bit of wobble. And then the other arm is going to go in the other direction. So you know when someone's running, one arm is that way. So I'll have the curve of the arm going that way. And I'll do it long and noodly. See, I might add a little bit of length to those just to exaggerate. And then I'll start with the body. So I want her to look like she's running. So I want to give a bit of a curve. So I'll start here and I'll curve it around. Now this is where I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'll use a pencil just to show you what I mean. Normally I would just go straight into it, but because I'm teaching you how I think of doing things, is I'll just do you a little, this is what her actual body would be doing. Okay, so just tiny little pencil line in there to show you. But what I want to do is have her t-shirt flying off to the side because she's moving forward. So I might have the shirt, rather than doing that, I might make it go out a little bit like that. And then I'll go like that. See, already you can see the material of the t-shirt moving out as she runs. But you also know that this is where her body ends. Okay, so you can continue that line that's not hidden behind the t-shirt. And this is where you would do the bump of her bottom. And the line where the t-shirt has flown up. And you could even maybe just hint of a little belly button there. Okay, so I'll just give you a moment to put all those lines in and have a think about that. And then we'll move on to her legs. Okay, so hopefully you've managed that. And don't forget, we don't need to draw this perfectly because all the Little Lunch characters are anything but perfect. They're all bumps and wobbles and mistakes. So don't panic if you've made a mistake, it's not looking exactly like this. You just make it your own. It'll still be Tamara Noodle at the end of this. Okay, so now we're going to do her legs, and I'm going to do the opposite of this. So this curve is going to be this way, and that curve is going to be that way on the legs. All right, so I'm going to head, whoa, and I'll give it a little bit more length on the legs, just for exaggeration. Okay, so I'll add a little bit of line there. And again, very spindly and noodly. Maybe a tiny bit thicker at the top than the bottom. And then I'll move, rather than going right up here, I'll move straight across. And then I'll start this line here from the bottom of her bottom. And I'll curve it right up like that. I'm just going to really exaggerate that one. And again, I'm going to follow that line, very spindly and noodly. Now, if you notice here, there's little crossover lines. I love all of those. So don't worry about those. Don't try and get everything to match perfectly. Like even with this would be where her armpit is. So that line crossing over there gives an impression of an armpit. So have a little bit of fun with that. Don't feel like you have to match all the lines up perfectly and join them up. All right, so now we have her looking very bendy and noodly, don't we? I'm going to do the hands. Now, I had a lot of trouble doing hands when I was younger, but as I got older, I learned cheaty methods, and now I feel quite confident doing, because I think there aren't any rules. You just draw the hands that you like to do. So I'm going to do the thumb for starters. I always start with the thumb. And if you're not sure about how the hand looks, have a quick look at your own hand. Okay, so now I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. See, they're little sausagey fingers, but they still work. It still looks like a hand. Now for the other side, I might just cheat and I might just draw 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers like that. And I'll hide the thumb behind all those fingers. So again, you don't have both sides looking exactly the same. And it just creates a little bit more interest, and it actually looks like her hand is flying back behind her. So all those little cheaty tricks are really good when you're drawing a picture, just to keep it interesting. I'll give you a moment to have a go at those fingers. Okay, so now we'll tackle the feet. Now, I'm going to stick to that whole bendy noodly thing, and when I'm drawing her feet, so obviously she's a very tall gangly girl, so she's going to have big feet. And I'm going to stick with this bean shape, so I give her very bean shaped feet. Right, so I'll do it on the other side as well. Okay. All right, so we've got our bean feet for her runners, and I'll draw a little line underneath just to give the runners a bit of a base. Gives them a weight, doesn't it? So rather than looking like part of her feet. And then I'll draw the lip of the runner and a curve like that. I'll give you a moment to do those. Now remember, don't try and make everything perfect. See what I've done here? I'm not worrying about crossing over other lines. You just get an impression that that's the lip of the shoe. Okay, so I might add 1, 2, 3, and a few curvy lines, and that creates a feeling of shoelace, and I might even maybe have one coming undone there. So again, a tiny little touch gives it a bit of interest. I'll add a few lines here. Again, all those little details give an illustration something interesting. And then maybe some stitching on the back and the front, some socks. And already it looks like she's got sneakers. Sometimes I'll do that little circle here so it looks like a gym boot. So already she's not just got runners on, she's got a certain type of runner on, and they're kind of cool. Now we'll do her t-shirt. Now instead of just doing the line straight across the arm, I always curve them, and that adds to the 3D quality. It makes it more noodly. Okay, so again, instead of doing that curve to the arm, see how that's created a tube effect? And then rather than doing it in the same way that way, I would do that way, and it makes the arms look like they're in different places. So 2 C's up the top. And then this way, I would follow the line of where her shorts would be going. So I'll do a curve that way. And this one, it's going down that way. So I'll just give you a moment to put those lines in. And you can see I've already done that with the socks as well. I haven't done the line straight across. I've followed the tube effect going on there. Okay, and now there's one more line here, just to give a feeling that there's the back of the t-shirt showing. So I've done a little line in there, see that? All right, so now get some blacks in there because it's just the line work at the moment. And so when you have solid areas of black or shading, it just gives the illustration a little bit more drama. So we'll get her shorts coloured in. And as you can see, I'm not spending too much time thinking about how I'm colouring it in. I'm not trying to be perfect because I love all those little white bits coming through. Just give Tamara's shorts just a little bit of energy. It looks like it's moving. So if you do a solid flat black, it just sort of it just stops it. Whereas this is moving and it's energetic and the light coming through. It's really good. So try not to colour everything in perfectly. Just scribble it in until you're happy with it, however solid it is. You know, like maybe if you want to get rid of a couple of lines to make it more black. But I think I really like the energy that leaving areas of white space gives. Maybe tiny, rather than colouring this in black because it would just be a shadow, I might just do a couple of little lines like that. Okay, so I'll give you some time to get that shading in. Remember, don't try too hard. Okay, so now she's looking fabulous. All right, we've got her. She's definitely moving, and we know that she's moving this way, but we want to actually make it even more obvious what's going on, because at the moment she's floating in space. So I want to give the impression that she's bounding along in this direction, so I might give her a drop shadow. Now, it wouldn't be all the way down here because that means she's flying. So she's just a bit above the ground, but she's obviously leaping along, very excited. Now, you can do any kind of drop shadow you like. I'm not paying too much attention to it. It's just a bit of a black area to suggest that she's leaping along and casting a shadow. All right, so that sort of immediately gives you the ground. And even if you want to suggest something else, maybe she's running across the oval. So just a few little lines like this, a few little tufts of grass, and all of a sudden it's not just ground, it's actually grass. All right, so it looks to me like she's heading towards the monkey bars. Okay, so she's looking pretty excited. Now, the other thing we want to do is add some movement. All right, so what I normally do is I'll use movement lines to just encourage that feeling that she's waving her arms around. So as you can see here, I usually try and follow the line of her arms and legs, just with a couple of lines there. I might do a couple of lines here underneath on either side. So all of a sudden you've got a feeling like she's moving her arms back and forth. So I'll do the same with her legs. See, following the line. They don't have to be very thick lines. If you can keep them quite light and loose, that adds to the feeling like they're not taking away from the main line of the drawing. They're just little energy lines. Think of them as that. So they're they can be very faint, but if you can see them, that gives that feeling of movement. All right, so where the heels are, maybe the toe, a couple of littlies like that. And of course her ponytail, that pert little ponytail would be bouncing up and down as well. So see, already you've got her moving. Maybe even the t-shirt flapping. I might just a couple of little lines there. That's good too. All right. Oh, maybe one here, the hands. So she's definitely moving. Now we want to exaggerate the fact that she's moving in this direction. So I always like to do a few movement lines. And if I start the line here and I think of the shape that she's going, so she's bouncing, so I might do a bounce line, like, all right, so, and then I'll follow the line of the leg. So I'll do a curve, I'll do a smaller curve and an even smaller one. See, so they get smaller as it goes along. So that gives the impression that she's going that way. Now I'm just going to put my monkey pen back on and try this pen because this one's getting a little bit soft. Okay, so now we have Tamara running across the oval towards the monkey bars. I think she's pretty happy. Now, maybe I might think of another few details, but say in this case, maybe I'll put a little Band-Aid on her knee. And, you know, all those tiny little fun details give you an impression that, one, she's always running and playing sports, so she's always skinning her knees or doing something. I might even maybe add like an apple core on the ground, and that gives a little hint that it's, you know, little lunch and she's dropped her apple maybe, or somebody else has. So just tiny little things that are telling a bit of a story. Yeah, so that's Tamara looking pretty excited and noodly and happy. So there she is. Now, just a little aside, getting back to these drawings here with Tamara, just a little extra thing here. Normally I would be doing Tamara's drawings with a dip pen. This is a dip pen and ink, Indian ink, black Indian ink. And that's how you get all those little scratchy marks and the little blobs, and you can even use it as a sort of a watercolor. I thought for this actual first learning how to draw her, it would be too hard because using pen and ink, I still have problems with it sometimes. So I thought using just a marker to start with. But once you're feeling more confident with drawing her, maybe you, if you want, have a go with the pen and ink, because it's a beautiful line and it's quite exciting, and it's actually fun making a bit of mess and using those mistakes, because as you can see, look, I haven't drawn anything that perfectly, and it's very different effect to what we've done with the marker. This is a much more straight line. But either way, she's a really fun character to draw, and I hope you have fun drawing her as well.